So we went out and did some night shooting, and then I just allowed the camera to continue to roll and recorded the interaction and discussion that took place right after the shooting. I've always assumed that I would be able to run that little tail cap switch. The thing is once your finger's on it and you pull the trigger, it turns it on. Because it's not just a pressure switch. So that's what you're gonna have to turn it back off. Boy, that's interesting. So I've got it like this. The moment I cap the round up, the recoil drives it back, meaning that now my light's on and now I'd have to come back up. I thought I could just touch it, and that works if you're not firing the gun, but the moment you fire the gun, the light's gonna be on. You're gonna have to intentionally turn it off. They need to make one that just has a pressure cap. But the point that I'm wanting to make here is the way in which these tail caps or the activation switches work on these flashlights, and the way they're different, and the way maybe I personally think they could be better. So on this Surefire Mini Scout Light, we've got a button here, and you can just apply a little bit of pressure and the light comes on, or you can push it all the way down and it comes on and you can take your hand off and it's just on. The way I thought this setup would operate was that I would be able to turn my light on, identify whether there was a target or not. If I needed to shoot, I would be able to fire, and then I'd just be able to remove my thumb from the rifle and the light would go off. What I'm describing is as I fire the gun, boom, the light is staying on and maybe my hand's moving around a little bit, and then I'm realizing that if I want my light to go off, I'm going to have to bring my hand right back up and turn that off. This little Streamlight TLR3 has a dual activation switch that you guys can see right here. What happens is if you push it off to the side here, it's just momentary on. If you flip this side, then it stays on. And so that was a beneficial feature. Although this is a much more expensive light, having that dual activation option was potentially useful and maybe a little bit better in terms of just having momentary on, and you weren't bumping it unless you flipped over to this switch. So that's just, or this side of the switch. So that's just something to think about. Other Surefire lights that I have, like this one, which is just a handheld light, it's got a activation switch there, and you apply pressure and the light comes on, and the moment you take your hand off the back of the light or remove pressure from the light goes off. If you want constant on, you have to screw the tail cap down. And so it doesn't have a click feature like this Mini. And so I wish that Surefire was making, and maybe they do, I wish they were making the Surefire Mini Scout or Scout light that didn't have the tail cap that actually clicks on. You actually had to leave pressure on the light, and then the moment you removed your hand or the moment you removed the pressure, the light would turn off. I personally think that would be useful to me. The reality is that I learned a lot from actually going out and shooting with the setup that I intend to use for home defense. And if you haven't done that, you should do it, because I learned a lot from the way I thought my gear would work and the way it will actually work in terms of the activation of that switch, and realizing that if I do discharge the gun, I'm going to actually have to come back up and turn that little click switch off.